we've got executive editor Manisha Pandey. Hi,
Hello.
Manisha. We have producer Parikshit Sanyal. And we've got associate editor Meghnad.
Hello.
Logistically, I mean, of all the assembly elections, this is one of the largest. It had 8 phases. So as journalists, how do you even begin to plan and figure out where you're going to go? What are the stories you're going to do? What priority will you give to stories, and which ones would you choose not to do because it's just impossible?
Before you really understand the state, the dynamics and the people, it takes you at least a week or two to really like understand that. But what we had done was there were a few stories that we had decided to do. And these were themes. So it wasn't like we will go to this place and do that story. So these stories involved themes.
Did you have to sort of recalibrate after the first week, sort of change your approach based on what you were actually seeing on the ground, or was it aligning with your plans?
In a lot of ways, we were, I think, distinguishing between spot stories, which are like on the spot, you will have to go there and do very immediately stories, versus the long, like sort of more research based and more intensive investigative reports, right? So that way we were trying to figure it out.
What we'd also realized, I didn't know this, I wasn't expecting this, but going into Bengal, I thought that people would talk a lot about politics, we'd have a lot of freewheeling conversations about the state of affairs, but people were very cagey about, and especially talking on camera. And it was very hard for us to find a neutral voice, people who are not affiliated to either TMC, BJP or left, and people who can really speak to us openly about what they felt about the government's performance, what their expectations were. So because I think by the first 2 weeks, I was a bit tired of that. So then what we were also trying to do was trying to talk to, like maybe like that little girl in Nandigram that we spoke to, or Lakshmi, or really like try and stick to ordinary people, because after a point, we also figured that analysis is hard to do in a state like this when you're parachuting, because there's so many nuances that you don't get. And sometimes political stories don't work out because of access and stuff like that. So what we thought is, why not recalibrate to give people a glimpse into concerns of an ordinary, Bengali at different spaces.
Videos was something that we really had to recalibrate, because like we had a real problem like making people talk on camera, because either it's like the party people who will speak, but they'll speak freely, but like again, that's the problem. They'll just do TMC or BJP or left. That's about it. And to get a neutral voice was the most difficult thing we faced.
Parikshit, that we went to Barakpur. Did we put out that interview, Parikshit? That old man, fireman who we did. So
by the way, I have 2 stories that I still haven't put out. I think I'll go into my or I'll use it at some point.
Parikshit has so much footage we haven't put out. Like we had many plans.
All this can be reporter's diary at the end.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
What are the other sort of like walls that you guys ran into?
I was surprised at the dissatisfaction against Mamta among the local people, and especially how authoritarian some of TMC workers have been in how they've operated.
Something that really surprised me was like how much content like channels like Republic and Times now have from West Bengal that they don't focus on.
Yeah.
Like if they want to even support the governing party, as in like Narendra Modi, BJP, there is so much things that they can actually say about that.
Yeah.
Like everybody we spoke to, they got like 500 rupees during the lockdown for 3 months continuous. That is something they can focus on. Like even if they want to do like promote
propaganda.
I won't use the word propaganda, but I'm saying like even if they want to promote the Bharatiya Janata Party, they can do it so well, but they don't focus on those shit. Like they focus on something completely absurd.
One random person came, and then the people who were talking to us were suddenly like, "नहीं, अब नहीं बात करना है. नहीं, आप ये story में नहीं लिखोगे. नहीं, you will not talk about us, etc." And it happened a bunch of times. It was very interesting and also like very surprising how that happened.
And then we would ask them, so which news channels do you like to watch? This was a social experiment I was conducting throughout. And often they would say Republic Bharat.
मुफ्त खोरो, मुफ्त में इतना ही मिलेगा. To watch the full unedited interview, you have to subscribe to News Laundry and pay to keep news free. Because when the public pays, the public is served. We depend on you and not on advertisers. So go to www.newslaundry.com/subscription and subscribe and get all our unedited interviews, our special video shows, comics, and everything that's behind the paywall. Remember, to subscribe to News Laundry, you pay just about 10 rupees a day. That's less than, well, no, a cigarette. And smoking is injurious to health. So subscribe and watch the full interview.
Do they want to just stop Modi, or it is like they are actually TMC has done something good?
When you are on the ground, talking to people, does this even matter today?
You guys think if whichever party wins, there'll be like a windfall of all of them coming back?
So if you have to write a book on your experience, what are the stories that you're going to include?
It's an insane place. I would literally write a Gangs of Wasepur style book on Barakpur, I think.
My perception of Bengal was so different before I went there, because honestly, it's from what I've seen in movies or popular culture, where it's the Bhadralok intelligent guy with thick specs, reading a poem and just being all whimsical.
Shuvendu had put up these posters everywhere, big posters saying that Mamta Banerjee is an outsider. Right, so it was like, so his point was that Mamta Banerjee is not from this constituency while he was working there, and Mamta Banerjee in rallies was saying that BJP entirely is an outsider. So it was like this bizarre thing they were trying to do.
The way they told us their story, it really impacted me. So I think that is something that really stood out.
What were your overall impressions of women participation in electoral politics?
I thought the women participation was truly phenomenal. I think one of the few states that I have seen where women really, and they have an independent voice of their own.
I went to rural Odisha in a lot of places. There you would see the men come out and talk about politics, and the women would be in the house or in the background or whatever. But in Bengal, you would see that women would come forward and talk.
Great work, guys. Thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you for that excellent coverage.